So for today's video, I thought it would be fun to do just kind of a sit down. I'm probably going to be doing several of these with not much going on. But today is going to be Instagram versus reality. And I will pop up pictures from the trips. There's going to be 3 main trips that I'm going to be talking about, where what you see in the picture doesn't tell the story. What goes wrong when you're traveling. So for the first trip was 2018. It was a fam trip on Celestial Cruises that work offered me. Unfortunately, the company I was working for did not pay, so I had to pay everything, airfare for the cruise, everything. The way my flight was, I specifically chose a flight. I could either choose a 10-hour layover in Amsterdam or Paris. So I chose Paris because I wanted to go to the Eiffel Tower. I didn't want to pay an extra $160 a night for getting in at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So I opted to get an Airbnb. Actually, it was a hostel. And that was my first and my last time in a hostel. First off, that trip just totally took off wrong whenever I landed in Paris. So it was Dallas, it was DFW to Detroit, Detroit to Paris, Paris to Athens. Whenever I got to Paris, I had booked a photographer to go around the main sites of Paris to do like a photography shoot. It was raining, cloudy, and absolutely freezing. I hadn't been to Europe before, so I had been to Greece in 2003, so it wasn't that big a deal. We went in September, it was still warm. I packed mostly warm clothes. I did not have anything warm with me whatsoever, and the whole trip was freezing. So that was mistake number 1. So the plane, we were kind of late coming in. By the time I got a taxi, where Paris de Gaulle Airport is probably 45 minutes to an hour into town, I was late meeting the photographer, and finally caught up with him. We started at the Louvre, so there's several points that we missed. So I had booked to go up, like a guided tour to go up on the Eiffel Tower. I missed that, so I had to repay. So I couldn't get a refund, so I had to repay a fee to go up on the tower by myself, not guided, to get views and pictures. But yes, to make a point, you can go into the city on a 10-hour layover. I did it. So once I got back to the airport, I got on the wrong train, trying to go back to the airport. Thankfully, people were very friendly in Europe, very friendly, especially to the American white single female lady. So they were very, very friendly, very helpful. Finally made my way back to the airport. Got into Athens, and that's kind of where the nightmare began. So I got on the shuttle, trying to find a taxi to get me over to the hostel. And there was a really nice girl on there from the area. She helped me, she gave me her number. I was so tempted to call her many times for help. Because she's like, if you need me, let me know. So she's like, let me get you to the right taxi, because taxi drivers, they take advantage of you, this and that. And that's exactly what happened, even though he said he wouldn't. He's like, well, I can't find this place, this and that. And he's trying to charge me more than what he said he was going to charge me. I was like, no, it's not my problem. You don't know where it's at. You have the address. It was just a big fiasco. So got there. It was probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Got a little bit of sleep. Got the next morning, go to the hotel where I was supposed to meet for the fam trip for Celestial. And oh my gosh, another disaster. All the taxis were on strike. All the taxis, all the buses. I was panicking. I literally was walking the streets from the hostel, trying to get to a main street. I was in tears, crying. I was on the phone with my mom, because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't get to the hotel. Finally, she's like, you're sociable enough. You'll get there. Just do your thing. Just talk to people, ask people. So that's exactly what I did. I just started asking anybody and everybody that was walking by. So finally, I got a really nice gentleman who was a bus driver. He was off duty, and he literally took me on to the hotel to where I needed to go. If it hadn't been for him, I don't know what would have happened. So I get to the hotel where we were supposed to be at. I go to check in, and they changed their hotel on us. So yeah, that was another thing. So it was probably, he said it was like a 10-minute walk, but it was further than that. And I swear, never again I am bringing one luggage. That's it, because after all these trips, I've learned my lesson, trying to carry the luggage through towns and things like that. Finally got to that hotel where they had re-put us, because I guess there was some big convention, so they needed the rooms in the other hotel. And it was just, the whole trip started off like that. So then when we actually got to the day of the cruise, you know, things went a little bit smoother. So I was excited for this trip because it was, you know, I had been to Greece before, so I wasn't as excited about some of that stuff as I was the biblical stuff, because it was very biblical religious sites that we were going to, and that's what interested me in this fan trip. But when on our, I guess it was our last stop for Crete, which I hadn't been to Crete before, but that morning, for some reason, my alarm on the phone set back to like, I guess US time or something, and it wasn't set right, so my alarm didn't go off whenever it was supposed to. And I just remember, I mean, I was out of it. I didn't even feel it was like docking or anything. I heard the announcement saying, we're in port, and, you know, we'll be deporting in like 10 minutes. And my tour was like early, first thing in the morning. So I thought, I jumped out of bed and like, literally, I don't think I took a shower. I just like put clothes on, my hat on the day before, threw clothes on, brought my makeup with me to put them away. And thankfully, I matched my group for the tour. Yeah, like I hardly, you know, sleep that night. So that was in Crete. So I think that's all the things mostly that went wrong on that trip. Well, we did get an expensive phone bill. I was supposed to have free internet service from the fam. They charged us. I had like a $500 bill from that trip. So don't use your cell phone on the ship. So I learned a lesson on that. Turn it off. Next trips. I think that's all the main things on that one that went wrong. The Bahamas in I think that was 2019, we went to the Bahamas in May 2019. So I went with my friend Cheryl. We flew out of DFW. We were supposed to have a direct flight because we didn't want any mistakes or anything like that. Well, there was weather in Dallas, that area, but it had already passed. I mean, the weather was out of there. I mean, there were other planes going and taking off. They up and canceled our flight. First, they kept delaying it. It was like a rolling delay, so they just kept delaying it, until finally they just canceled it. So pilot actually came out, and I swear, I wish I had this recorded to this day, and we swore never to fly American again because we were so pissed off at them. The pilot said there's no reason that this plane should not be taken off. There's no weather, we can easily take off. And he told us that they canceled it because there was not enough people on the plane, so they canceled it. Then we couldn't get rebooked. The agents were rude. I remember me and Cheryl were both like on the phone trying to call customer service. So I don't know, they were just rude. Finally, she got through and got us like the last seat. It was to Miami. So we ended up going Dallas to Miami. We couldn't get to Nassau until the next morning. So, and not only did we miss a night at the hotel that we had already paid for, we had to sleep in the Miami airport because we refused to pay extra night at the hotel when we already had to pay. So, you know, that's my travel story from there. It was a train wreck. Once we got there, everything was fine. It was super expensive. I mean, Atlantis is expensive and crazy. There was like a ton of people. I think it was like Mother's Day weekend we were there, and there were so many people. Next trip was 2019, our Jordan, Jerusalem, and Dubai trip. And I had talked about this a little bit on my YouTube. So, you know, my main regret, I didn't know about YouTube sooner. I've only been doing this about a year, and it is a learning lesson, Instagram and YouTube. So, you know, as I'm telling you this, I'm not working right now because of the travel situation. So I'm going back through pictures and I'm finding things, that was taken for Instagram, and I never posted that picture. So if you see pictures, that's what I'm doing. I'm just going back in and finding pictures, trying to revamp my Instagram page, trying to gain followers, just trying to, learn it. And I'm trying to get better with my editing and my YouTube channel. as well, now that I'm not working. So with that trip, I just, back to, before I go there. So yeah, I truly wish I had all these trips vlogged, because I've been on some amazing, amazing adventures in the past 4 years from working on ID90. They have not been through ID90. These have all been trips that I have paid and taken, minus the van trip, which it was, taken as well. Some of them have been deals through the company, but most of them have just been on my own. I've just had the money to be able to go and the time off to travel. So with that trip, it started, we left from Dallas to Dubai, and then Dubai to Amman, and I wanted to see Jerusalem. That was big on my list, but I didn't have read horror stories about people trying to cross the border on their own, like it taking 4 hours, this and that. So I found a tour company that helped with getting you across the border. So that's what we did. Well, the tour company was great. However, our tour guide was a freaking nightmare. He was very degrading. He wouldn't even keep, like when we were in Petra, he would only keep up, he was way ahead of the group, and we couldn't even hear him because he was talking to one person. I'm not going to name names, but he was talking to one person, and we couldn't even hear him. And yeah, I got upset. I'm like, I want to know the history. I want to hear what's going on. Can you please tell us all? And he's just walking and taking off with this person, and just kind of leaving the rest of us out. And so we didn't get to hear half of it. So that was it. He was like that not only in Petra, but whenever we went to Mount Nebo, he was like that. And that's where it started. When we went to Mount Nebo, I called him out. I said, can you not, we're paying, you're a tour guide. You're supposed to stay with your group and with the whole group and tell us what's going on. That's how it works. I mean, I went off, and I was supposed to be baptized, me and my friend Tammy, and he's like, oh, I've never heard of baptism over on the Jordan River. And I was like, well, do you have Wi-Fi in the van so I can at least contact the priest and let him know where we're at? No, we can't turn that on. He wouldn't give us water, which we're supposed to be provided. So like literally while we were walking around the baptism site, the manager had called me and asked me how it was, because I guess he was in contact with her. And I was like, it's awful. I was like, I was in tears. And I told her what was going on, and she's the one who I've been talking with, planning the trip, kind of my trip advisor or whatever, putting this trip together. And she told me, she said, I told him, he knew, I told him, make sure these girls get baptized. They have it set up. And he did not want to wait on us to get baptized. He's like, well, the priest can take you to the next stop, but we're not going to wait for you to do this. No, it's your job to wait. It's not the priest's responsibility. So literally that day, they fired him on the spot after that happened. And we took him home on the way home from that tour. So after that, after we got to Jerusalem, Jerusalem was great. It went a lot better. That tour guide was amazing. He was awesome. It was just that one guy, they told me that she had met us at the hotel that night. And they did compass for everything. They gave us, another tour of our choice. So we went to the Temple of Hercules. So they did compass for another tour on that. So they did make up for it. But yeah, that was just a disaster. And then our Dubai trip was going okay. And the tour guide there was very likable, very nice, looking young man, making jokes, all this stuff. Well, his jokes went a little bit far, and he tried to basically sleep with me on the trip. It was just, he later found out he had a girlfriend. He didn't want me to know about it because he was just trying to have sex with me. Like, he would send me pictures of him in the bathroom, this type of stuff. I did turn him in, but I let our leader know, I let Sabrina know. I said, listen, this is what happened. I'm not going to turn him in, but you need to be aware if you book any more clients with him, this is what happened. So there was just a lot of tension that whole trip. But I love that part of the world. So I definitely want to go back to Jordan. It was beautiful. So those are my travel mishaps, stories that happened. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think those were the main ones. Was the Greece, you know, it was like freezing in Greece. I remember walking around Athens. We were at the changing of the guards, and it was like pouring rain, and I was like in shorts and a t-shirt. It was like freezing cold. And then not bring the right clothes at all for that trip. I think that's the only major mishaps I've had when traveling. So I just wanted to share those, and I will post those pictures up that I have from my Instagram on this video. And that is Vlogmas Day 3. I actually did forget one trip, so I just moved my chair back, but I wasn't going to move it back to film this last little part. So whenever I went to Finland, I actually forgot about this part. I went to go see the Northern Lights. And so I went from Dallas to, God, where did I lay over? I can't remember. I had to go back and look at my itinerary. Anyway, Dallas to Finland, and then I stayed a few extra days in Romania. So from Helsinki to Romania. Oh yeah, that's right, because I had all those legs. So it was Dallas to Newark, Newark to Reykjavik, and then Reykjavik to Helsinki, Helsinki to Romania, because I was on Iceland Air, and I booked the, you know, you can do the stopover, like, so I did a 3-day stopover in Iceland on the way back, because I couldn't get it on the way. So first thing that happened with that trip, it was a month or so before my trip, I guess, and I got a call from Iceland Air that they had canceled my flights. And I was like, dude, what? And I was at work that day, and I was like panicking, like I literally had to go to a break and go out there and get on the phone and call. I was like, no, I was like, this is your screw up. I was like, I am not paying for extra flights. This was booked, you know. You need to reroute me. You need to get me there. This is your screw up. So finally, they did. So I think they put me going through Denver on the return instead of like a direct flight. Anyway, I was like just frazzled that day after that. And I got pulled over on the way home. Thankfully, I didn't get a ticket. I just told the cop, it's just been a rough day. You know, my flight's canceled, this and that. And thankfully, I did not get a ticket. So that trip, whenever I got to Romania, like I said, I had been to Europe prior, so no problems ever using U.S. cash or currency or anything. And thankfully, my friend Dwayne, we had went to the bank before I left, and I got some money out, and I left money in my account too. And thankfully, I had gotten that money out. I think I got like $300 out or something like that. And Romania, it was on a weekend, so there's like no banks open. It was late in the day. They would not take cash, and they would not take American cash. Never heard of such a thing. They wouldn't take credit cards. And no, I had pulled all of my cash out. I didn't leave anything in my bank. I had pulled all my cash out, is what it was. And typically I don't do that. Typically I just use my card. So I don't know why I did that time, but I did. And oh my God, I was panicking. I was like on the phone with my mom, trying to figure something out. She was trying to wire money through my friend Dwayne, was trying to help, you know, and I don't know, it was a big fiasco. I think finally they got it wire transferred, but she didn't get it like wire transferred until I got to Utopia. So I like just kept that cash and then just paid my mom back whenever I got home with that. So let's see, when I was in Romania, I stayed in the Ice Hotel. So from where I was at, from there, when I was leaving, I was going to Romania, but I was going to a different area. The driver was told I was going to the airport. I'm like, no, I'm going to, this area. So, it was kind of a hassle, but I finally got him to take me where I was going. And I was staying at an Airbnb. It was really cute. It was supposed to be close to the train station because I was going to take the train to meet the group to Lapland, so to Volva, and I had to meet them at a stop near the airport. So all the other GLT girls had already come in. I was like the last one in. So it was so cold. I mean, there was like snow, like mounds of snow on the ground. And I just remember getting up early that morning, getting ready, and this is last where I would never carry that much luggage again. Never. Here I am, freezing cold temps, like carrying my luggage, and it was supposed to be like a 5-minute walk. So I mean, I didn't think anything about it. I was like running to the train station, and literally like, I'm like trying to get all this luggage across traffic across the street, and finally get to the bus station because I was having to ask around. I mean, I could see it, but I didn't exactly know where to go, so I was kind of having to ask around. And like, I get there, they're like, you better hurry because that bus is leaving. I mean, literally, as I'm getting there, the driver's like getting the bus. I'm like, wait, stop. I'm like, you got one more passenger. Thankfully, I made that bus, but Lord, I don't know what I would have done if I had not made that bus. I would have been freaking panicking. So I got there, made it up to meet the group. And then, by the time I was there, the money transfer had come in, all of that. So that trip was beautiful. That trip was great. Whenever we were in Upland, I stayed at Aurora Holidays. They took great care of us. So yeah, I would highly, highly recommend. That was so much fun, that trip. I did develop eczema. You can kind of see it. Some on my thumbs here, I still get it. It's not as bad as it was, but I did develop eczema on that trip. I don't know if it was the extreme cold that got it or what. But ever since I come back from there, I've had eczema, which is just dry skin, basically, patches. So once we left there, we went to the Volva airport. We were going to Russia. So we had booked, we were going from Volva to Helsinki, and then out of Helsinki we were going to take the train. Well, our flight was delayed. I think it was mechanical coming inbound. It was like the inbound flight that delayed it by a couple hours or so anyways. It messed our train up. So we were all panicking. Thankfully I had that money, that cash, from where I had taken out, because we all ended up having to book a flight to get into St. Petersburg, Russia. So we were connecting through Riga, and I'm like, I've never heard of Riga. I'm like, where's that at? I've never heard of it. So, and it was still a very tight connection. So we got to Helsinki. We were having to run through the airport because it was a very tight connection. We were running, we were booking it. We made it. We made it to Russia, but it was like, it was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So everybody made it through your security checkpoint. So learn from mistakes. Like the girl that I was with, my roommate, Magley, in her driver's license passport, she had long hair. She had just gotten it cut like really short, and it was like curly. So it didn't even look like her, and she was like being integrated. She was like scared to death. She didn't think she was going to get in because of the looks of her picture from her hair. Like she didn't know she was going to get in. So just keep that in mind when you're traveling. But Russia was pretty good. That trip turned out okay. I didn't like the hotel that we stayed at. I think we could have picked a better hotel. I was supposed to meet a client, and she had called the hotel. They didn't even bother to tell me that she had called and we couldn't meet up with her. I felt so bad to this day. I feel so guilty because I didn't have phone service, so I couldn't even turn my phone on while I was there because it wasn't in my plan. My mom's like, just turn it off, just completely turn your phone off. So I didn't have service, so I couldn't even like connect through her on WhatsApp or anything like that. I had no service, and I felt so bad. Then we left Russia. We took the train back into Helsinki, and I went Helsinki to Reykjavik, and I had my 3-day layover. That was fine. I mean, I got a taxi to go into the city. There again, it's about 45 minutes. So with Iceland, everything's like a turnpike bus system, and everything is like numbered. So by your hotels and all of that, they're all numbered. So I was staying at the Skuggy Hotel. I was just trying to find something nice, but yet something inexpensive because I don't want to do hostel because I've been through that experience in Greece. So I stayed there. It was kind of my first, I've traveled by myself, but I've been with groups, so that was kind of my first fully by myself experience overseas. But I made it fine. I had befriended some people that were from England that I kind of tagged along with from some of my groups that I had booked. But I will tell you, I hated the Blue Lagoon. I know that it's top on everyone's list, but when you get there, and I mean, I will try it again, but if I do it, I'm going to do it on my own time when I'm not with the tour group. Because we got there in the evening. It was dark. It's probably about 5 or 6. You know, you have so much time. And I don't want to be a lot at a time whenever I do it again. I was by myself, so you have to go into the locker rooms. There's men and women's. You have to shower and like put stuff in your hair. Put a cap because of the sulfate stuff kind of dries your hair out. So I had done that, and sorry, my cat is trying to get by, and got out there, and like it was so steamy. I don't know if it was just the time of year I was there because it was night, but it was so steamy, like you couldn't even see your hand in front of your face. I couldn't find anything. Like I had done the all-inclusive package where I was supposed to have the drink at the bar and face mask and all of that. You know, and you always picture things in your head that you see on TV, and you get there and it's not what it's all about. I mean, I was literally broke down in tears. I got out there, took a couple of pictures, and was literally back out. I did not like it at all. And I went to the bathroom to go shower and change, and I just broke down crying. I mean, I was just boo-hooing in the bathroom. And one of the ladies was like, the workers that was cleaning the restroom area, she asked me, she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I'm not okay." And I explained what was going on, and she's like, "It'll be okay." She's like, "Go talk to a manager and see what they can do. You know, just go talk to somebody." So, you know, sitting there and finished my little crying session in the bathroom. And that was another thing. I mean, it was so busy. It's like you couldn't even get a dressing room. I literally had to go to the bathroom and change. I got in trouble for that. I'm like, "There's no dressing rooms available." And I'm like, you know, I'm allotted time. I can't wait. I've got to, you know, there was no empty changing rooms or anything. And so after I did that, got dressed, had my little crying session, I went and found a manager downstairs. They gave me a free drink, and they gave me some samples of the face mask to take with me. And yeah, so that was my story behind that. I just, yeah, the Blue Lagoon was not my cup of tea. Maybe be better if I was with a group of people, not just by myself and not on a time slot. You know, I would try it again, but not by myself like that. So yeah, that's the main thing that happened there. On our next day, whenever we went south, we went to Diamond Beach and all of that. Like on our way, we were in Vic at the bus stop in Vic when we ate lunch. And our bus driver, like we had probably 30 minutes down the road, the bus driver realized he left a passenger after he got to counting. I felt so bad for him. It was an older gentleman, and I just felt so bad for him. But he did turn around and go get that passenger, so they were a little upset, but they took it pretty good. So yeah, those are stories from travels. I think that's the last one. I just happened to remember the Finland trip, so I think that's the last one I have. Okay, one more, as I was just scrolling through pictures trying to edit my video. One more story I wanted to tell. When I was in Puerto Vallarta, I was with the girls Love Travel, and we were, I don't know, I guess it was like the day before we were supposed to leave, and we were walking through town, just sightseeing and walking with a group of girls, and one of the girls from 90 Day Fiance was on there, or was in our group, and she was very helpful, very nice. So I wore sandals. First mistake. There was cobblestone streets. I was taking pictures. I had my camera. I had my Nikon at the time. I've since sold it because I was not happy with the Nikon at all. It just kept messing up, and I was not happy. I really wanted a Canon or the Sony Z1. That's probably what I'm going to get for vlogging. Anyways, I was not paying attention. I was taking pictures. You know, I was like looking up with my camera, and I fell. My sandals just, I guess that looks cobblestone, and I fell flat on my face. I was so embarrassed. Like, most of the girls were in front of me. I was kind of behind because I was, you know, being slow taking pictures. And I busted my knee and my foot. I thought it was broken, to be honest. I mean, I couldn't walk. They had to carry me for a little bit. And thankfully, they got me to Courtney. She was her name, the one that had been on 90 Day Fiance. So I don't know if you remember her season, but she had traveled quite a bit international. So thankfully, she knew a little Spanish because Lord knows I didn't. So they got me to a drugstore. Can't even remember the name of it, and got me bandages and stuff, and got me hooked up. I mean, I had scrapes all over. Thankfully, my camera didn't get messed up because it was around my neck whenever I fell. And I was like holding onto the camera, trying to keep it, from getting damaged. So, um, we got to the drugstore, got bandages, got my knee wrapped, but I throbbed so hard. Like that night, I didn't do much of anything other than lay in bed. They really wanted me to go to the doctor because we really thought it was broken. Thankfully, it wasn't, but I did miss it up pretty bad. I think it was just sprained really good. I was like, no, I'm not going to hospital in a foreign country. It's like, I'll be okay. We're leaving tomorrow. We're leaving the next day. I'll be fine. So I didn't go. So in Mexico, that's the main thing that happened. So, just watch what you're wearing, the type of, what you're going to be walking on. Good walking shoes. Yeah, don't wear sandals. So that is that story. And one more story with Puerto Vallarta. So we went into the rhythm of the night, and you take a ferry. It's a good long ways where you have to go. It's probably about 30 minutes or so. Um, and it's beautiful, but the water that day was very choppy, and I got a little seasick. Not gonna lie. Thankfully, one of the girls was a nurse, and she had some Dramamine, so I took Dramamine, and I was feeling better. I usually typically don't get that seasick, so it was just really, really choppy. Um, So, just another thing to think in mind when you're there around the water, um, your seasickness and stuff like that. That was a really neat experience. That was a really fun show. It was like dinner and a show, and I would highly, highly recommend that. The people on the boat were great. They had like a whole concert going on and all of that. It was a lot of fun. So, keep going back through pictures and finding stories that I keep forgetting to tell. So, another one was Mexico City. So I had went and met a friend who had family, stayed with them. Um, that was probably my first mistake. Know the people that you're traveling with. Um, that's mainly all I can say. I touched on that in my Mexico videos too, with what happened on that. But I was so ready to get home from that trip. I did not feel safe at all. She basically, like, she didn't mention anything. Like, we had met up prior to our trip, to see what we wanted to do. Like, she had pre-booked stuff without even asking me. And, like, then expecting money from me, and all because, she knew well in advance this trip as I did, and she had no money and wanted me to pay for everything, And I'm like, first off, no, I don't know the language. I'm not paying my way and your way. I'm doing good to pay my way. Um, we went out one night. It was actually Halloween because I went down there for Day of the Dead. She literally, like, left me, like, the address she gave me wouldn't even come up. So I didn't even know how to get back to the house because the address wasn't come up. She's like, well, you can just find your own way, this and that. And you're paying for the cab, this and that. And I'm like, I don't have, it wasn't the issue that I didn't have a problem with paying. First off, that wasn't even discussed. It was just she was out of money and expecting me to pay for it all. And I didn't know where we were going. I mean, I was her guest. First off, I was her guest. And the way that I was treated, I was just like, I was literally in tears when we got back that night. I called my mom. I was like, I don't even know if I can find my way back to where we're at to even get my things. I mean, I was ready to forget about Day of the Dead and go home on the next flight the next morning. I'm in the business. I know you can fly standby, and I was ready to go fly standby and get out of there. I mean, we worked it out enough to where I stayed, but I didn't feel comfortable after that at all. And the area was sketchy, and there was just we were in this huge crowd with Halloween people dressed in costumes, and I didn't know where I was going. She was being a excuse my language, but she was being a bitch, and had no clue where I was going, and it was almost like I had a panic attack. because I was left there in this huge crowd, all these people in costumes. And I mean, I broke down. And that trip was not good at all. And I mean, we did work it out, but like day after the Day of the Dead, I mean, it rained, it stormed during that parade. They did end up having the parade. I got to see it and get dressed up. I mean, I am glad I got to experience it, but I wish it was another time, another friend, another tour. You know, if I were to go back, I would go stay in a hotel. I think I would feel safer. Um, you know, it was just, they weren't communicating with me. She was communicating with her brother. Well, he was going to take you to do this and that, but you wanted to go do this. Well, that wasn't mentioned to me. You know, why don't you talk to me? Why don't you tell me what's going on? There was no communication. She was communicating with them, but not to me. And it was just a whole ordeal. But like the morning I left for the airport, I didn't think I was going to get to the airport. I had to call 3 times for a cab. First cab I called, I kept waiting and waiting. I'm like, okay, he should be here. You know, he should be here. She left me to do this by myself, knowing I don't know the language or where I'm going. So, didn't know the address. I did good to get that in. She just left me hanging. And that was no friend, to treat me that way when I was her guest. And I will never travel with her again. But you know, I slept on the couch that night, got up, left, all that kind of stuff, and I was like in tears. I mean, the guy like literally canceled on me because I didn't speak English, because I was trying to ask him, like, use a translator, Google Translate, and see, you know, where are you at, this and that. Called another one. Anyway, he canceled on me because I didn't speak English, or didn't speak Spanish. And then I called another cab, and I don't know, he couldn't find the address or something. I can't remember what happened with that one. So third time, I finally got somebody there, but and I was having to use the Google Translate to like talk to him in the cab. And like, you know, I knew enough Spanish, like I could tell him, airporto, I'm going to the airporto. You know, that type of thing. To get me to where I needed to go. But oh my gosh, that trip was, and I was so scared. I had never been so happy to be home in my life. And then whenever I got home, I had left my car at the train station, so my friend had taken me, so I'd taken the train over to Dallas, left field, and, you know, I still had to get to Dart, and then get home, and then to my station, but I've never been so happy to be home in my life from that trip.